Hey everybody, Greg and Matt with a special edition of In the Mix. With the latest quarantine orders coming out of Olympia, we're being flexible. So we decided to change things up and do a little kind of mixology at the Casa de Quinn studios, but obviously no guests. We'll be doing everything through Zoom for a little while. So given also that it's Thanksgiving week, we decided to focus this episode of In the Mix on one of our favorite Thanksgiving movies, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. So
Yes.
To that end, we're going to do 3 drinks, all gin drinks using Aviation gin, of course, with planes. So that's our airplane reference. Our train reference is the Boxcar cocktail, another gin drink, which we're going to be making, and then the automobile cocktail. That'll be our third one. So Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Let's get started. We're going to do an Aviation gin and tonic to get started here. So we're going to do 4 ounces of our favorite gin. There's it. There we go. There we go.
Have you used Aviation gin before?
We have, yes. It is very good. And?
It'll be my first time.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And owned by?
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
You may have heard of him.
We're using Q Tonic water. We are Casa de Quinn, so we're using Q Tonic water. There we go.
I have the easy job. I just get to drink them.
And then we got our lime juice, which I put in here. They're going to, a little for you, a little for you. Give it a bit of a stir. And there we go.
All right.
There's our
Anxious
plane.
to try it.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.
That's delicious.
Nice. It is good.
Really good, yeah. I have not tried that gin before.
This is
but
really good gin.
boy, I'm sold.
So, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. So, it's...
Not only one of my favorite Thanksgiving movies, but one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
Really. And it's a holiday movie that isn't a holiday movie. There's only, maybe one scene that actually happens on a holiday.
It's true.
Otherwise,
yeah.
they're just fighting to get home. We
Yeah.
all know that feeling.
Yeah, so, favorite scene?
I really like the scene when they're driving the wrong way on the highway and they go between the semis and Dell turns into Satan. And he's laughing. Because I remember watching that scene. I don't know if it was my folks had it on TV as a kid, but I just remember seeing that scene and it scared me a little when I was a kid. And having it in context, I think it's hilarious. I mean, obviously the motel scene, between two pillows, is another favorite.
They're not pillows scene. Yeah, I think that's a lot of people's favorites. I think mine is the same one as yours, but maybe a little bit of a different part of it. Mine is when the other people in the other lane, you're going the wrong way, and they're doing the whole yeah. Right. So that's my favorite one. I just cracked up when I saw that.
There was 2 scenes that actually sold Steve Martin on the script when they were trying to get him to join the project, and it was the scene where, another favorite of mine. How do you pick one out of that movie? Is when John Candy gets his coat stuck. He's trying to get his seat adjusted, and he's been playing saxophone and on up here, and Martin's asleep. And it was that scene, and then the very, very notorious F-bomb scene. So 18 F-words in 1 minute, I think, at the counter there, trying to get a rental car. But John Candy, just some fun facts we pulled up here about the film. John Candy and Steve Martin both called their performances in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles their favorites of their entire careers. And
nice.
The chemistry was so evident between those 2 guys. Had to be an amazing movie to make and to be part of. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, those are 2 guys that are just, anything they did and still do for Steve Martin's sake is just off the charts.
Yeah, that's part of the appeal, I think, of the movie for me, is the nostalgia about John Candy.
Yeah.
We all miss Candy. We wish he was still around, still making movies. He just, that endearing character, similar to Uncle Buck.
Yeah, I was going to say, because he was in a couple of John Hughes films.
Yep. And if you'll notice, at the end of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles and the end of Uncle Buck, it's the same ending. It's kind of a fade, not a fade out shot, but a pause, and John Candy smiles. Same thing. So watch them both, and again, it's just so heartwarming. You love to love John Candy.
Awesome.
Yeah. So have you ever been in that situation, Greg? You've been stuck in it? You've done a lot of
traveling. So I was I was up in Canada, and we were in this in Trail, British Columbia, which is actually just north of Spokane. And to fly out of you don't fly really out of Trail, you fly out of a little town, Castlegar, which is nicknamed Cancelgar, because it always snows, flights are always canceled. So we were coming home, and I had spent, I think, 2 or 3 months there in Trail. So eager to get home, can't wait. So we get to the airport, flight's canceled. So they tried to book us for the next day, flight canceled. So what we decided to do was the guys I was working with met some people at the airport, and we got rented a minivan and drove up to Kelowna, BC, through wine country, which is beautiful, by the way, British Columbia wine country. Got to Kelowna, ended up taking a short flight from Kelowna to Vancouver, and then flying home from Vancouver. And I was flying back to the East Coast at that point. So, yes, that was probably the closest thing that I had to something like that.
I've got one it's similar, although a completely different climate. Flew to Honolulu to see my best friend Felix, and couldn't get back. It was during spring break. Flew over standby, and ended up having to go to Maui to LA. Couldn't get a flight home from LA. Had to drive. But the cool thing was, in Maui, I was sitting there probably on Facebook, and I look up, Whte Harrelson.
Really?
So I got to meet Whte, shook
Nice.
his hand. They were holding the entire American Airlines flight for him, fully loaded. No time for a photo, buddy, just a handshake. So
Hey,
it was still pretty cool.
Yeah.
But John Hughes, actually, he was inspired to write the film story after an actual flight from New York to Chicago he was diverted to Wichita, and it ended up taking him 5 days to get home.
Well, Chicago, I mean, I'll tell you, I used to
There's
flying from the East Coast. I always flew through Chicago because I was doing, mileage points with United, flying through. And yeah, that's the weather's nasty. We ended up spending 24 hours at the airport in Chicago one time because of snow. So yeah,
impossible place to get any rest.
Yeah. So interesting thing, because I know you've got an affinity to The Odd Couple.
Oh,
this
absolutely.
is like an Odd Couple film.
Yeah, it's a buddy movie.
Yeah.
It's a buddy road trip movie, and you've got the pairing of these two guys that are just polar opposites, but at the end realize how much they love that about each other, and it becomes just an endearing part of their friendship.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it's a great one. It's one that we always come back to every holiday, so it's fun to celebrate it.
Awesome. All right, well, I'm going to get started on the next drink, which is the Boxcar, which is gin, triple sec, a little bit of Grenadine, and I've got to get an egg white. So I'm going to let the camera roll. We're going to edit this out. But I'm getting an egg white and the Grenadine out of here.
I better fill in the audience on what we found out today about Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and that is it didn't start out to be a holiday heartwarming movie. It was the plot originally involved Del Griffith, John Candy's character, as a bungling vampire. So Planes, Trains, and Automobiles started out as a vampire movie. The character was supposed to be bent on getting Neil Page, which is Steve Martin's character, to invite him into his family's house for Thanksgiving because vampires can only enter a house if they've been invited. So, I know, hard to believe. Great plot idea, though. John Hughes was so impressed with the on-screen chemistry between Candy and Steve Martin, he removed the vampire plot from the script in favor of a more wholesome Thanksgiving theme. So, I would have watched it either way. John Candy is a vampire. I'm there.
Yep. There's some ice in here. Let's get the gin going. So we're going to do 2 of these things. One for you, one for me. So we're going to do about 3 ounces of gin, 1.5 per drink. That's about right.
Cool. I feel like we need aprons, right?
Yeah, maybe we do.
Don't the Big Shot TV people always have aprons? Another interesting a little tidbit about Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. John Candy and Steve Martin, I know, hard to believe, but they were not Hughes' original picks for the roles. He originally wanted Tom Hanks in the role of Neil Page and John Travolta for the role of Travolta for Del Griffith. Hanks was unavailable because he was shooting Big, and Paramount executives did not want Travolta because his career had taken a considerable dip in the 80s after starring in such flops as Two of a Kind. So this was pre-Pulp Fiction Travolta, but that would have made a completely different film. Another character, or another person they considered for the Steve Martin's character, Neil Page, was Rick Moranis.
Really?
Yeah. So had he been cast, it would have reunited him with his SCTV co-star John Candy. They both started at SCTV, and then meanwhile, John Goodman was also considered for the Del Griffith part. So I can see that.
Yeah, I can see that. I think. Boy, I can't imagine though it being anybody but Candy.
It's hard to wrap your head around anybody but those two. But if Goodman and Moranis had been cast, then it would have presaged their casting as Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble in the Flintstones. And speaking of the Flintstones, in the scene where Del and Neil are traveling by bus, you'll all remember Del leads fellow travelers in singing the theme song to the Flintstones after Neil tries to get him to sing 3 coins in a fountain. It's a big flop. And Flintstones, John Candy's favorite cartoon.
Really?
Yep. He seems like a Flintstones guy.
Yeah, I can see that.
Also, my wife, Erin's favorite cartoon. Loves it. Has the box set.
That was, boy, had a lot of memories around the Flintstones. There's some yolk in there. It'll be all right.
That's all right.
All right.
Little protein never hurt anybody.
Shake this guy up.
All right, everybody hold their
glasses ready to go. Always shake the smaller end towards you so it doesn't go flying out at whoever it is. All right.
And visions of Tom Cruise and cocktail just now.
I am not flipping bottles. That stuff is too expensive. All right, so a little bit for you.
This might be the first time I've ever had a drink with an egg white.
There's a lot of drinks that use egg white. This is the first time I've made one with an egg white myself.
All right.
So, all right, cheers. Here's the Boxcar.
Wow.
That's surprisingly good.
Is it the egg that adds kind of the creamy?
The egg adds a creaminess,
Yeah.
So you've got gin. It's got lime juice triple sec, so it's a little bit fruity.
Okay. Yeah, it's got a little bit of a tropical taste to it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, those could be trouble.
Yeah, this is good.
Those are pretty tasty. And you got the egg in there, a little protein.
Yeah, there you go.
Never hurt anybody. So, the infamous marathon car rental scene. It's exactly 1 minute long, and from the time Steve Martin starts his tirade to the time the attendant ends the scene. In that 60 seconds, the F word is used 18 times. Now, the film, it would have easily rated a PG or PG-13 rating by the MPAA if it weren't for that single scene. But, again, like we chatted about earlier, that was one of the scenes that sold Steve Martin on doing the project at all. So, glad it's there.
Yeah, for sure.
And the phone call that the attendant makes, and a fantastic actress was also in Home Alone and some other films, I believe. She ad-libbed the entire phone scene.
Really?
Yeah. It's like, talk about whatever you talk about with your relatives. And so she's talking about cooking the turkey and this and that and the other thing and just totally ignoring Steve Martin. But yeah, completely ad-libbed, which always amazes me. But so many of these people, like Moranis and Candy, they come from an SNL-like background.
Yeah, SCTV was huge in improv and sketches and things like that. It's phenomenal. Stephen Colbert, Late Night Show, was also on SCTV. There's so many that were alumni of
Eugene Levy.
Yeah.
And Catherine O'Hara. If you guys watch Schitt's Creek, you'll recognize those names. Gilda Radner. Obviously, we mentioned Rick Moranis, John Candy. And a lot of them ended up working together in other productions and films and all kinds of things later on. But the Canadian version of SNL, really.
Yeah, and it's really
Second
also
City,
so there's the Toronto. There's also the Chicago Second City troupe as well.
Right.
So there's a Toronto troupe. There's Chicago, and there may be some others. I don't know, but yeah. So
this is really good. Now, is this something you could go to? Well, we can't go to bars really much currently. Got to drink at home. But is this something that most bartenders will know how to make? It seems like some of these more, these traditional cocktails, the Boxcar, you hear about it in a black and white movie.
Yeah, that's a good question. I've gone to a couple of bars when I've been traveling and asked for certain drinks, and I've had to look them up on the internet and show them. I know. So most of them, I think most of them, they know the basic stuff. gin and tonics, some of the tiki drinks maybe. But yeah,
it's a lost art.
Yeah, I mean, but these aren't really new drinks, so
right. Something like a boxcar, I assume, has been around for a while.
Yeah.
People know what a boxcar is. Boxcar, train carriage, where all the bums sleep.
Yeah, Boxcar Willie.
Well, and I'm excited because we're going to be talking to Doug Fall, who, let's read a little bit about. Let's see, what is Doug Fall? Let's see. He is a actor. He's a singer. He's a director. He's an influencer, and he created the Augmented Actor channel on YouTube. Actor. And this guy's also like an award-winning bartender.
Really?
So yeah. So we're gonna. He's got some.
He's
got some stats. You guys are gonna have a lot in common. Can serve like 150 patrons in less than a minute. This guy's some kind of phenom. But those are the types of people that we like to bring you on Heilman and Haver. Join us November 27th. If you make them so good, I have to drink it all. We were supposed to just sip these and set them aside, and instead we just.
Booze isn't cheap, so you gotta
enjoy it.
Yeah.
So what's our third
cocktail? The automobile
cocktail.
Yeah. So again, gin, and this is Scotch and sweet vermouth. So that's with some orange bitters. So I'm gonna get a stirring glass.
Okay. How about a little bit more trivia? So in the beginning of the movie, if you guys watch it this holiday season, after Dell, John Candy's character, steals Neil's cab at the beginning of the movie, Neil looks down. And he sees that the cab is gone, obviously. And in the puddle on the ground, you can see 2 shower curtain rings. Because, of course, Del Griffith is a shower curtain ring salesman.
Yep.
And that's another one of my favorite scenes, when he sells them as earrings. They're trying to gin up money at the airport to get home.
Gin up money. Sorry.
But
All right, a little bit of Scotch in this one.
Just a little.
And sweet vermouth.
So what's the difference between vermouth and sweet vermouth, other than the sweetness? This is not something you would put in a martini, I assume.
No, usually you use a dry vermouth for that. It's dry martini. So it's hard to describe, but it is a drier taste. I mean, it's definitely not sweet, obviously, but orange bitters. But yeah, it's still and sweet vermouth to me is still a little bit on the bitter side. So if you're using vermouth and you're using it with I'm trying to think. What's the drink I'm thinking of that you use vermouth and not Aperol. I'll remember. Anyway, a couple dashes here.
Now, you're using some ingredients that are not everyday ingredients people have at home. Are there some local places to find this stuff that some of these not quite obscure, but
Total Wine's got everything.
Total Wine.
Also the bitters and Grenadine, things like that. You're gonna get at the grocery store.
Okay.
So.
And of course, we list all the ingredients and the how-tos on our show pages and also on the YouTube channel. So check that out. We love it if you guys would drink along with us.
Negroni. That's what I was thinking of.
Negroni.
All right.
That's a great color.
Cool.
Nice bright gold.
Cheers.
All right.
Planes, trains, and automobiles.
Oh my.
It's not bad.
That is that's a drinker's drink right there.
Yeah. Yeah. You're gonna sit back with your cigar and your
open flames away from this. Yeah, that's you could almost dip a cigar in that. That is not fooling around. That's not fooling around there. Boy, oh boy. Speaking of not fooling around, when John Hughes made Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, he shot over this will date things a little, 600,000 feet of film. And for all of you folks in Canada or elsewhere, 180 meters of film. It's twice the industry average. And there's rumored to be a 3-hour version of the film that does indeed exist, although it's not shot in order. moreover, John Hughes has admitted it's a mess. The footage is a mess. It would take months, maybe years, according to him, to transform into an actual film, like an extended cut. Yeah. I'd still love to see it. So, maybe we can get together a petition or something, get our listeners to... but it's remained locked away in some Paramount vault somewhere. So.
Yeah, and with John Hughes not being around anymore, or we have to get, I don't know.
His estate. Everybody has an estate in Hollywood. Yeah. But, and then one more, anybody remembers Roger Ebert? He gave this movie a very good review. It made one of his lists of great movies, and he loved it so much he actually watched it almost every Thanksgiving. So...
Well, there are so few Thanksgiving movies.
Right.
When looking through the list of Thanksgiving movies, this one's probably top of the list. Mm-hmm. Another one we considered looking at was Scent of a Woman, which is technically a Thanksgiving movie.
I know, technically.
But that's the thing. There's no, the Christmas movies and holiday movies are always centered around the holiday in most cases. These Thanksgiving movies are just that they're at Thanksgiving, and they're eventually getting to a point where they've got to get together with family or whichever it is for Thanksgiving. So it's a little bit of a different take on the holiday in the Thanksgiving movies. So they do exist. There's not as many of them as there are Christmas movies and other holidays.
And I wonder because in the U.S., Thanksgiving is such a big holiday. I mean, second only to Christmas, and it's funny because they come just right after the other as far as the calendar year. But it's kind of surprising that I suppose you have Santa to work with, when it comes to Christmas movies. But I think like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles could be certainly could be a Christmas movie. I think some people may even think of it as a Christmas movie. Thanksgiving. Scent of a Woman, really, that was a surprising one.
Yeah.
But I guess there is a scene at the Thanksgiving dinner table. So just be glad we're not trying all of our Al Pacino impersonations out on you guys. You're saved from that because we decided to go with this film instead.
Yeah, we'll have an Al Pacino episode later.
I think we should do one episode that's pure Al.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, all things Al Pacino. But... it's a fantastic film if you haven't seen it, and I hope that everyone has out there. Get on Amazon. It's worth the $2.99 rental. It's a classic. You're gonna see other actors and actresses that you certainly recognize from that era of movie making. John Hughes, tons of classic comedies, and this was one of John Hughes' rare adult-focused films. Most of the movies that he made in that era were actually focused on kid stories.
Yeah.
This is kind of a little bit of a aside from his main focus during that period of movie making, but it's a classic.
Yeah, and like all John Hughes movies, there is a message, there is a point to it, but it's so much fun to get there.
Yeah, it really is. And Steve Martin he's such a jerk, pun intended. Another great film. Throughout the whole thing, but friendship. It's all about friendship, right? Yeah. All right. Here's the friendship.
All right.
And here's to Heilman and Haver.
Okay.
And here's to our listeners and viewers.
And Thanksgiving. Thank you all so much for watching. I mean, we've just started this kind of as a way to fill in the gap for us not being able to be on stage, but we appreciate the feedback. We appreciate anybody giving us a few minutes of your time every couple of weeks to listen to our episodes. So, cheers to you. Cheers to you.
Cheers.
And here's to many more.
And happy Thanksgiving.